Thy mercy brings us peace, right? I always see, especially in the Eucharist, there's two rays, which is the water and blood, purification and life. The opposite is impurity and death, right? So we can here in Medjugorje. We are here. Is somebody for the first time here in Medjugorje? Nobody. Some. The first time. So we are here in Medjugorje in this special place. Also here with Billy. And
with Billy.
Nancy, it's not enough. With Our Lady, Queen of Peace, and here in this project also Nancy, many years here, working spiritually. And my personal experience is that it's so difficult to get aware about the spiritual life, because sometimes it seems only a psychological feelings and whatever, but there's something more. And here in Medjugorje you feel this. I felt this when I came here the second time. It was the same. I will explain you what happened to me. So something which is really bringing this profound peace. So let's sing this song, Give Us Your Peace. There's one of my songs here, Fruit of Medjugorje, after this chaplet that we prayed. Our Lady in Ivan's apparition, I sometimes go there, and she gives so little messages, invitations. This is not about it. It's not the main message, but she invites especially to pray for peace many, many times, for peace in the hearts, in the families, and in the whole world. That we know that. So we are here. Let's sing this song together, and let's pray for peace also in our hearts, the families, and in the whole world. Your peace, give us your peace in our hearts, Lord. Give us your peace, give us your peace in our hearts. So let's start to say something about me. I say this. My name is Roland. For who is the first time I come from the very north of Italy, very close to Austria. Therefore, my mother tongue is German. So, but I'm Italian citizen, and I live here in Medjugorje now. I have the grace now in November. It's 20 years. Wow, that's a life, right? Isn't it? So, you know, is a mission, a call, a grace. I always say it's a big grace, and I'm very thankful. But also my testimony, what I want just to share with you is the importance of our presence today here. Because Our Lady said at the very beginning, also in the first times in her messages, she said these words, which I really understand so much also in my life. Dear children, you're not aware about the importance of your person and plan of God. She says this to us. And you know, I understand this because without other people, not me, other people who came to Medjugorje before me and believed in this call, in the messages, you know, to put it in practice, I wouldn't be here today. And so it's nice also to share and to encourage, because Our Lady, you know, that's very important. In the last message of the 25th, Our Lady said, no, maybe it was July, I'm sorry, I mixed them up. But I think it was July or August, she said, to pray for a strong faith. And you know, the faith is so important because, for instance, if we have to fast, right, it's not nice. You know, it's very difficult, at least for Italians especially, you know, and all the things, but also for everybody it's difficult to fast. But I remember a friend of mine from Slovakia many years ago, he said this in a circumstance, you know, very easily. You know, there's a lot of discussion about fasting, you know, but if you go in the depth, you know, the discussion starts always because you don't want to do it. You know, so you try to find an excuse. You know, is this possible? But is this the? And he said just something. Mom has asked for it, I do it. You know, this relationship with Our Lady, with God. If Our Lady, our mom, she's asking this, so she's a good mother, I think, you know, and she will not ask nothing to bother us. So, and she said in another message, you know, I ask all. Nothing for me, all for your salvation. And it's so powerful, fasting, prayer. So I come from this little town in the Alps. Maybe somebody was there, it's a nice place. When I was young, it was an awful place. You know, when you have this rebellion against everything. So when I was a teenager, I experienced that. Now, you know, I realized, because here in Medjugorje is this, what Our Lady said, I want that Medjugorje is not only a place of prayer, but also a meeting of hearts. And how many friendships, you know, spiritual, nice things, you know, started here in Medjugorje. But the same thing does evil. You know, he has his ways, you know, he puts groups, and I had my friend, friends is a good thing, you know, I don't know how to call them, they are companions or whatever. And I remember in school, you know, when everything starts, where you feel uncomfortable and you're so rebellious. I was yesterday with my, Billy, I was with my Hong Kong friends, you know, so I couldn't be with you last night, but this woman had a little boy, you know, he was interesting. And, you know, he said, you know, he's happy, you know, when he's sick, also COVID, but anyway, no, he's sick, when he's sick because he has not to go to school. You know, that's in this rebellion. And I live this also, you know, you rebel against everything which is good, which helps you to grow. But this was, you know, I didn't do these things alone. I had my friends, and there I started. First thing I still remember when we got drunk the first time. Oh, that was interesting. You know, because there was another problem. It depends on persons, you know, whatever. But, you know, I was very introvert, you know, very close. Whatever, God knows, you know what it was. So, and in drinking alcohol comes another spirit, you know, and you change. You get courage. Oh, that was fun. And this was this experience, you know, that then led me to start to drink every day with these groups, you know, always more, because it came, how you say this, escape from this heavy existence, just going to school, be a good boy, you know, have to be a good boy and everything. So, and there, you know, you find some fun in this thing, fun to say. And then quickly it led to drugs. And I always say, alone I wouldn't have found these things. So the devil works these companions, not friends, because friends is a good thing. And I stress always, underline music, because music was one of these vehicles, let's say spiritual vehicles, you know, that gave me a lot of power and influenced my feelings, my thoughts, my decisions. And as teenager, my, let's say, idol, you know, you said idol, yeah. Yes. You know, my life, I want to be a heavy metal guitarist, you know, world famous heavy metal guitarist, because they are happy, they have everything, you know, like, that was, you know, really sense of life and everything. So in all these years, I didn't even go to school properly. I just was with these companions, drugs, music, and I started, my mother taught me when I was little, she taught me play guitar. You know what she taught me? This here. And this was so boring. I was 7, 8, you know. So I left guitar, you know, that's useless, you know. After a while, and now I understand, because, you know, there's a spirit. Now I appreciate that we call it Volksmusik, which means you have the country music in America, I think, but it's the folklore music. And you know, if you look, we have very nice music in our region, and there is a value in this music, family value, love, you know, true love. And this was for me, you know, on the spiritual level, I didn't get it, but it was, well, there's nothing. So then came my uncle. He was a little bit strange person, but he's a nice person, but strange. So he taught me on his guitar, because my mother's side was artistic, you know, and this thing. So he taught me the boogie woogie, rock and roll. This. You know, I started to play, you know, I listened to this rock music, and you know, in the 80s there were all these groups, you know, they were really, how you say, you know, important, you know, like AC/DC, you know, do you remember this? And these have really satanic contents. You know, it's like Highway to Hell. Oh my gosh, you know, like text. Okay, you know all about this, you know. But the problem for me was, like this teenager in my hometown, it's not possible to get this in our society, at least when I grew up, because society is now, how you say this in English, proudly atheist. Yes. Proudly atheist. That leads to Satanism, you know, at the end. Because there is no possibility, you know. But in a materialistic world, you know, you don't catch, you know what is the leitmotif, how you say this in English, but you know, this what leads is pleasure. If you like it, that's okay. And so I said, you know, my mother also, when I was at home, you know, with the long plays with all these monsters on it, you know, and I listened to this music full volume, and my mother said, stop these things, you know, and this is terrible, you have to leave this. And said, no, I like this, it's good. And yes, it influenced me, because one thing is my deathly cocktail started with sin. Deathly sin, that you live in a death sin, you don't even know it. I didn't even know what, you know, all the things what I did. And then alcohol, drugs is physically how is it? Like having the effect on you, you know. And then also this music, this because, and this is so beautiful how God created everything. But we have to be aware about this, because music are waves. We don't see this, right? We don't see music. We hear music. Also light, for instance. We can't grab light, you know. And this is, you know, goes towards the spiritual world, from the material to the spiritual world. And so these waves have an impact. Why is a screaming person, or you know, like people who are loud, why are they annoying? No? Like, because we feel that, it's something hard. So music transmits what the spirit. And this, I didn't catch this. And I followed my way. And it was, when you have in the family, you find drug addicted, they found out at the end, like my parents. And so which companies I was, what I was doing, because I was playing in these heavy metal groups and, everything what you can imagine. So I say, in this, time of my teenage time, my mother met a very important person in my hometown, because this person had put in practice already the messages of Our Lady. And what does she say? Dear children, when you go back home, form or participate at prayer groups, because the prayer groups are strong. Because imagine my mother, and I always synthesize my mother because my family. My mother, we have all friends, in the working places, and a lot of friends, but with whom can you talk when you have a serious problem? You can be a good friend, but you will not understand me. You don't feel, And this was the difference that my mother found in this prayer group, and this, the leader of the prayer group, a person where she felt, hey, my son, is doing all this, whatever, And they started to pray in this prayer group for me, and I became this problematic case, of this whole prayer group. They were praying, and this leader came every month here with one bus from Bolzano. This was in the 80s, in the first years of Medjugorje. She came to bring a lot of people to make Medjugorje known. So of course my mother came here. And when she came here, I remember I was with long hair. You're like this rocker, a teenager. So when my mother came back from these pilgrimages, I still remember, and I don't know how she did. God's grace, she came to me because relationships in families like in this way is very bad. So, it was no communication, you don't understand nothing, very aggressive, very arrogant, and egoistic and so on. And she came to me and said, Roland, you have to go to Medjugorje. Our Lady is appearing in Medjugorje. I still remember this this word Medjugorje inside me, I thought, no, never. It was really aggressive, and I said, no, nothing. My poor mom, okay, nothing, So she started, and I remember at home, at my home stands the statue, this classic Medjugorje statue, the white one. And I remember in that time I came home at 3 o'clock at night completely out of order. And how many times I have seen my mother in front of this statue praying with tears. And now, I would say that's the most powerful thing that she has done for me, because this really worked the graces. And I say not only, and I'm sure that my mother, my family wouldn't have, succeeded, because you drown, somehow. But it was the prayer group, and they were praying and so. But one day it was too much for my mother. What happened? So she, I don't know how I will end up, So she went always to this leader of the group and the pilgrimages and shared her experience here in Medjugorje. And she said, when I was there in Medjugorje, so I felt so strong that Our Lady told me, you have to bring Roland to Medjugorje. And I'm trying to tell him, but he is impossible, and I don't know what's gonna be. So what shall we do? So this leader said, I will start in a few days with a new group. I have 2 places in the bus still. So try to say it's for free. Maybe he comes, So my mother took this, like this excuse, and came again. Roland, come on, go to Medjugorje. And I really was angry. No, leave me. No, you have to go. It's for free. And she said, it's for free. Inside, I felt, now they tricked me. These people, they tricked me. I can't say no, How can I say for a free trip, And so inside, because my world was in here, nobody knew. So I said, okay, now I go in this place, whatever it is, and come back, and I don't want to hear anything more about this. So imagine on in the square where the bus started, the golden colored bus. I will still remember every day. I came there, there's a rocker, you know. And there were like 45 pious pilgrims. I'm sorry, you know, with all respect, but all older people, you know, like, I'm all the young. I felt like fainting. But you know, my parents, they were so smart, you know, and they waited that the doors of the bus closed because they knew that I could escape, you know. So maybe I was in Amsterdam, you know, because so I started 24 hours ex-Yugoslavia. We came here to Medjugorje. And I was, you know, like this boiling inside prayer, rosaries, prayers, and so on. Never finishing this trip. And we came to Medjugorje, it was very little. And you know, like, you know, when you're disgusted somehow, you know, like this, what is this place here? You know, nothing. There's even not even a bar, you know, nothing. So we were in these little houses. The bus had not one house. There were little, you know, a part there, a part there, a part there. And so I didn't do anything, no mountains, nothing. I just waited there that this bus turns back home. And thank God it was 2.5 days just, you know, because it was always short to bring a lot of people. The only interesting thing was that I found here were the tobacco plants. Can you imagine, you know, Medjugorje tobacco plants, that's nice. That was the only interesting thing that I found here in Medjugorje. But at the same time, no, after then I thought, can you imagine my mother at home? Ah. Now he went to Medjugorje, he will come back, he will leave this. It's, for sure something will change. I went back home, nothing. I continued worse than before. And I thank God, and this is very important to understand, you know, this human level and spiritual level. And I thank God. And my mother alone wouldn't have had the strength to do, you know, after a while you say, but the group together. You know, and I thank God that I didn't say it was useless. And now, today, I can say that this strange, you know, like somehow useless pilgrimage was my salvation. What happened? I continued, you know, with drugs, sin, all this, and you know, you get always more desperate, because that's the lie of Satan. It says you have to do this, you have to come there, and you come there, you have to do this, you know, like a slave, you know, that you, you know, that you have to do one and another to be, and you will be happy, you will be happy. And listen, what happened in this time was one lead guitarist, which was one of my idols, from the heavy metal group Crocus, which you can see on internet still. Tommy Kiefer was his name. He was one of my favorite ones, and he committed suicide. And you know, I wasn't able with my situation, you know, to make it. Yeah, come on. If you think that this man and these people is happy and have a nice life, why did he commit suicide? And there are many examples of this, you know, just to say that that's not what makes happy. And I always say, a man on this earth can entertain himself till the end, but never be happy, because entertainment is not happiness. But the world does this for me. You know, entertainment and escaping from myself, not to think about the thing. So I came to a point, nobody knew this, in my heart I said, this life, if this is life, it's not worth to be lived. If there's not changing something soon, I will do the same thing what this man did, what my example of life did. And you know, God waited for this, and this is the great hope, but it's needed all this prayers. I don't know what, in heaven we will see, but you know, how many people have prayed for me, and whatever, you know, how many sufferings, especially the preciousness of suffering. Because you know, the greatest suffering is when you love somebody or you want good for others and you can do nothing. That's terrible. So all this, but God waited this moment, He knew my heart. And Our Lady, I always said, you know, like my heart was like a nut, you know, like closed. It was really very hard, you know. But she gave a little hit on this on my heart when I came here first time. So what happened? That I was in this delirium, let's say, but at a certain point I felt, you know, somehow the call of this strange place where I was. And you know, that's like a same thing. I remember when San Pio da Pietrelcina, you know, he cut out from the confessional the penitent, you know, go away, you know, because he knew that this penitent was not in truth. And okay, he left. This man left and said, "Oh, come on, Padre Pio and the whole church." He sent him on another planet, you know, somehow. But then God allowed, because San Pio didn't do that because you're bothering me, you know, like I'm on this level, you know, when you bother me, you know, you kick away. But he was praying and suffering for the souls. So there needs this time, you know, this time to understand, because a person has to understand. And then he came back, this man, you know, to Father Pio, because he heard in this scream, you say this, scream, shout, you know, that he did, love, the shout of love. And this was the same for me, you know. I came here in this terrible place, you know, at that point, but then I felt and I heard the call of this. I wanted to go there. This was in my heart. What happened it was not more than 10 days after, with the same organizer, you know, I came again to Medjugorje. They invited me again. And there, for readings, I came, and there I would say, when Our Lady asks us today, you know, like, pray for those who have never experienced the love of God, because that's the key. Because we can, you know, if somebody doesn't experience this love, how much we are loved, it's difficult to change. But this was, you know, also my struggle, you know, because you want to be somebody that you are not. You know, to accept yourself. The parents want that you're good. The world wants that you're a big star. You only want to be somebody that you're not. And that's like, you know, frustrating. Let's say frustrating. So what happened? Yeah, I made the experience of the love of God. And how can I describe this, for me at least? You know, everybody has his own, but I think it's linked to this for free, you know. It was not for nothing, this first pilgrimage to Medjugorje. Because I came here completely destroyed with all the consequences and things. But suddenly under this heaven here, under this sky in Medjugorje, I felt in my heart such a profound peace that I never had experienced. And this feeling, you feel at home. And what does it mean when we say we feel at home? That you're accepted as you are. And this was a voice saying to me, like, Roland, I love you as you are, not as you want to be, not even as others want you to be. I like you as you are. My reaction, no, impossible. And I stress this because, you know, this was this vertical, you say vertical experience, yes. God, you know, thing. And in this I understand the word of Our Lady, that we are not important about the importance of our person in the plan of God. Because I could have personally denied this experience of the love of God and say, you know, that was just a moment, you know, it was wrong. But then confirmation started. That was the beginning, you know, it's just to say. But the confirmation of this experience were the pilgrims who were with me. They really, you know, were treating me and testifying this free love. And they asked, you know, how are you, what's going on? But you see, it's not an interest, because the world in which I grew up is always with interest. You know, they say, I remember when I was little, now it changed everything, but, you know, also in the restaurants or thing, the customer is king. You know, you have to always, he's the king, you have to always, of course, because he leaves you the money. Why are you kind? Because he leaves you the money, you know, it is always an interest. So the true love is always, I like this expression, you know, this candy-coated sin, you know, somehow, you know, like candy-coated. But there, in this pilgrimage with these people who were with me, I felt such simple, true love. And this is the basic of the right relationships. Because I like also to say, you know, I have always to translate, I'm sorry for my thing. It's like, obligation, yeah, it's a holy obligation. Does it make sense? Because nowadays we can't oblige nobody, right? We are so sensible. But love has no boundary, doesn't listen to this, because I thank God. Because I would have never gone to confession on my own. It was not possible for me. So thank God that they pushed me, But why did I let myself push? Because I felt they don't want nothing bad for me. So it starts the right relationship. There's no interest. So if they say it, and this is the same as I said at the beginning, Gospa asked fasting, I do it. She asks it. Trust relationship. Because and thank God, there, everything really on a spiritual level started. It was like to take up a tub, you say tub, from a bottle, my heart full of whatever, was in my heart. So in confession it started to come up, and there I felt again, and I started to cry. And this was a big problem for me. I cried, and I didn't know why, this was not a reason, it was just working in there. And there was music. I remember here in Medjugorje in the 80s, there was a great Croatian singer. He made a tape, Pjesma Medjugorje, which means Songs of Medjugorje, and I got this tape. And I remember when these first times of experience, when I went back home, I listened to this tape. I was always crying and crying. And I couldn't, like I said to myself, come on, what's going on? But then, through these songs, these melodies, the Holy Spirit healed and opened and started to work in my heart. And I would, just to put it very short, then all the time after, what was for me very important to understand, and I have to also the strength to say no, because it does mean that then there's no problem. There was a time, I said, no, now I will start to pray, fast, no problems anymore in my life. But it was not like this, so I was a little bit concerned. Why do I still suffer? But there, I remember this, I gave a testimony about this many, many years ago. It was the difference of suffering. I really felt it so clearly. What I suffered before is destructive suffering. It destroys you. Here I suffer, but it's building up. And you can, paragonar, how you say this? You make the analogy. Compare, thank you. You can compare this with building a house. You have to sweat, it's not easy, but then the house is finished. So the suffering became building up. And this gave me peace. I was happy also to suffer. No, I was not. But anyway, it had a good, it was not destructive. So I had a big grace here in Medjugorje in one of the pilgrimages. What I say, it's a very simple key. Anyway, Our Lady gives us all these keys. One was, and it's a grace, because one pilgrimage, one message was in my head. Dear children, decide for God. Dear children, decide for God. What is this? What does this mean? I couldn't get it, So I asked this guide, what does it mean? So speaking, but no answer for me at least. I got the answer on another bus, not the same one, but going back home, praying the rosary, praying the rosary, and I really felt again this voice, this, inside, and said, Roland, for you, deciding for God means that you decide to pray every day. Not only Mass on Sunday, prayer group, whatever, every day. And I really said to myself, I will not go to sleep before having prayed one rosary. And I started this in very many years ago. And I can say, for me, the rosary is like letting myself be taken by the hand of Our Lady. And she guided me to consecrate everything, it's all in there. It's a long story, but leaving drugs, heavy metal music, all these things. And there always happened very interesting things, to get me to that point, because God is so patient. He's so patient. You can really trust, but important is prayer. This prayer every day, and I did this, and so I met people. I was a long time in the community. I met people who I needed to form that what I didn't form in my teenage, and it's a disaster now. I think for young people the greatest disaster is if they have nobody that tell them that they have to do sacrifice, to teach them sacrifice. Because my slogan, you say this? Yeah, was everything quickly without pain, whatever, like and you think, as a young people, you can think, life is this. No, it's not this. Because yes, you can entertain and have this happiness one to another, but you will be never satisfied. But also in community, one day I shared this was interesting, and I thank God about this holy obligation where you can't escape. Because of course nature tries to escape suffering, and it's also somehow just, but it's not useful, not in some time. So can you imagine we're in 15 people in the little house here in Medjugorje, and in a community there is a rule. Oh my gosh, rules! It was very difficult, very difficult. So okay, and they loved me so much also, and so I did less cleaning dishes than maybe others, somehow, because they knew I'm a little, okay. But one day, at the week I had to do that. I'm not joking now, I'm joking because it's funny now, but at that time, that day was for me depressive. I was depressed. I knew I have to wash dishes. And there in the community you have 1.5 hours on the little lavabo, not machines, like normal thing. And it was really, feeling bad, and I would have escaped, no, I have to go, no, this is not for me, just to avoid this fatigue, and then all this thoughts popped up, like I have to go, and I said, no, I am for washing cleans, I can't leave, like the community, so, but maybe it's better not to eat. So we don't have to wash all this. All the crazy, silly things, came up. But really serious, now I'm laughing about it, but I was thinking. And then, thank God, holy obligation, couldn't escape, and we did this always in 2. And so finished lunch, and then stayed out, starting to do this. But I always remember this, after 1.5 hours, it's a hard job. But nobody can... I remember this feeling what I had in here. I was tired of the thing, but I felt such a peace in my heart. Such a, it's a kind of joy, what I would call the joy of the completed duty. The duty, it's not something special. Because, I grew up, I never made a bed or cleaning nothing, so king or prince, whatever, and this is a disaster for me, I think, so it's really the true love says, because these are the true joys where you have to suffer a little bit, like you have to put yourself, and we all have this experience, all the things who cost, they have more, they endure longer, and they are more profound. So I really thank the Lord for all this, many experiences, also in the music. It was so hard. Oh, I can share this one. This was funny. First times, I was virtuosist. I just played electric guitar, heavy metal. It all has to be perfect. So when I started here in Medjugorje to play my acoustic guitar again, and then singing for the Lord, I was joyful. Okay, we had some people where I met. We sang a lot, but then it comes up also with. A pilgrim group, we pray the rosary, and then you sing this, and I remember, some are not in tune when you sing, with others and things, and I was just strumming there, this voice in my ear, look, how deep did you fall? The Satan saying, how deep did you, look what you're doing, you have to be, and there was such a big struggle, to humble yourself, because, you're like completely, thing. And nowadays, after, can you imagine now this 20 years, all these years, I'm playing just for nice brothers and sisters, not for my glory or for my thing, no, just to praise the Lord. Because I understood, and this was a big grace that I received after my consecration to the Immaculate Heart. This is one thing that Our Lady pushed me somehow, with other people to do with the Montfort, this 33 days preparation, and I did this in Italy, in Schio. There's a special place. So I did this, and after I understood, also that music is what the gift that God gave me. I think is not for me. It's to share with others, you know. And the gift that God gives is to glorify Him, not ourselves. And so I understand also that really you can use the gifts for evil or for bad. So we can look, you know, what's going on in the world, you know, for what it is used. And if we all would use our gifts, you know, for the glory of God, then it would change a lot, you know, it would be much more peaceful. But the main thing is, you know, also knowing that in playing, singing, it's prayer, and then putting in practice the messages of Our Lady. Because I needed to go to Mass every day, you know, praying every day, always more. And so here in Medjugorje, it developed this mission. And concluding, you know, I wanted to become a worldwide heavy metal guitarist, you know, around the world, enjoying life, you know, but it's, you know, fake, I would say, because I know that. But something was truth in this. I'm now a guitarist, still not heavy metal, you know, a little bit lighter music, but I was around in the whole world, and I'm around in the whole world with gospel, with the Queen of Peace, because with Melinda also, and so they invite us to go everywhere, if it's possible, and to bring the spirituality, you know, also through prayer, because I think music is a great gift, also to heal hearts, especially to heal hearts, open hearts. And if you don't mind, we sing Heal Me, O Lord, together just shortly. And we ask that maybe also all these people that we have in our hearts, you know, many are so wounded from the relationships, you know, which are not this for free. These relationships for free. Alone? No, we sing all together. Yeah. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. So let's pray that we can really also pray for those who we have in our hearts, and always remember that nothing is impossible for God. That's the spiritual level, you know. That the human level is like a little bit tricky, you know. It doesn't seem, but so. Okay. Finished. Finito. say one thing because sister is here. You know, I think also to thank the sisters, the consecrated people, the priests who pray, you know, who offer because I think many sisters have prayed for me also. I remember there was one also in my hometown, you know, they're praying, asking prayers, and they really work. You know, that's really important because maybe they don't see that, you know, maybe I don't know if so many see this, but it's really to be sure that God uses this where it's needed.